Yes, everybody, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson. This is United Review today, joined by my faithful assistant, Abdul, and we're going to go through all of the stats of United's win against Burnley this weekend. Did you enjoy the game?
I enjoyed that. I sort of predicted like a 5-0 as a joke, but it could have easily played out like that.
It could have ended up being a 5-0. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're going to be using Instat. If you'd like to know a little bit more about what Instat is and how to get involved with it and all the rest of that sort of stuff, the link is in the description below. So definitely check out those guys. They're amazing at what they do, and they help us out, giving us all this data as well. So definitely go and check those guys out. I'm coming down into the comments all the way through the video, so make sure you've got your notes in there and all that kind of stuff, and we will box you off as soon as we can. So let's talk about what we've got to talk about today. Is basically Romelu Lukaku created 4 chances.
Yes.
Sanchez created 4 chances. We saw Fellaini and Matic. Do you know what? Let's get straight into the average positions of everybody, because I think this is really interesting and key to how the game went down today. So this is obviously United represented in the pink. As you can see, Lindelof and Smalling, they're both featuring at centre-half. The surprise for me is that Fellaini is the deeper of the 3 midfielders.
We were talking about how deep, when Fellaini plays deep, I don't really like that, because I think he has to move around a bit too much, and he's not comfortable in position. I think his passes always come too short. But today he did a good job. And
the role of a decent blocking midfielder is to give it to that midfielder and give it to that midfielder. That's it. Keep it simple. And he did that.
And he did that. And on top of that, I think why Mourinho got him in that area, and I've not really seen Mourinho play. I think he has played this system before, but not in this style. I think Fellaini was dropping in between the centre-backs when he had to, and it was almost a third centre-back at times. You see his clearances in the end. He won 100% of his tackles as well that he went into. So it was good timing from him. And it's the experience as well. Obviously, he's 30 years old. He's in the United because he's been here 5 years. I mean, he's had his bad times, good times, but the experience helps him as well to drop in there. I remember a couple of seasons ago in Mourinho's first season, he was the defensive midfielder, and he had an absolutely amazing 3 games. And then he fell off. It was because of, I think, him dropping in deep and just allowing himself to read the game and not getting involved too much. And he did that today. And I think Matic, Pogba, Jesse Lingard and Sanchez pressed so well further up the pitch. And I think that allowed Lindelof to get on the ball more. And Smalling and Lindelof did really, really well together. I mean, Smalling had about 3 interceptions. You know, when you're a centre-back and you've got 3 interceptions, you're coming out at the right time and he's stepping in.
Smalling looked good today, and I thought he dealt with the very typical sort of Burnley threat that you're going to get. But let's keep going on into this. I haven't finished that, Will. Getting too giddy. So you can see Matic is this is the sort of midfield free sort of trio that you normally see from someone. Matic kind of doing the box-to-box stuff there. He was on the left, he was on the right. Pogba a little bit more advanced. Both the fullbacks pushing up, which is good to see. Sanchez taking in a pretty decent position. You can see Rashford slightly wider than him once he came on. But the really interesting one is the positioning there of Lukaku and Lingard. This is something that I've been moaning about and going on about for a long time. We're going to come to this in a second and show you how it actually looked from the TV angle. So you can see Lingard's inside Lukaku there, showing that he can't necessarily be. You might even call this a 4-4-2 diamond, really, in reality, because you've got Sanchez and Lukaku kind of leading the line, Lingard playing off in the middle a little bit there. This is very reminiscent of a 4-4-2 diamond.
I did say when we were in there, we were watching the game, I said it's very Inter Milan-esque, and I loved watching that Inter Milan side of Mourinho growing up. Like, I enjoyed watching them week in, week out, and it reminded me of what Milito and Schneider were doing when it was central, but they would go wide when they'd have to, and Lukaku was pushing to the right side because he knows when he gets on that left foot he has got a deadly cross on him, even though he's a big man and you don't really see it in him, but he has got a good cross on him, and Jesse Lingard's movement was perfect for that role.
Let's have a look at the positioning from the left hand side. Now this is an issue for me, I think, here. So you can see there on the ball, I believe it's Paul Pogba. Luke Shaw is bottom right hand side of the screen, but look at that, everybody else in a United shirt that's visible in their half is basically from the penalty spot left, which shows you, put it back on us if you want, back onto the player positioning. It shows you how Lingard's coming over to the left hand side of the pitch, how no one is really attacking that right hand side of the pitch. But when we did cross it from the right hand side, we did this, and we was very close. Now, if Lukaku's a little bit ahead of the player there, this is Jesse Lingard banging across him with his right-hand foot. With his right-hand foot.
He's got a nice cross in him.
With his right foot. But the other issue that we have, and this is, I think, a consequence of the fact that we do play very much on the left-hand side, is how tight the area is. Now, I don't care if you're Lionel Messi. This is so difficult to think. If you take a touch, someone's on you. If you take a touch here, someone's going to nail you. Someone's going to get it away from you, and that'll do well. What I want to see from United is I want to see United spread across that front line. I want a right winger. Bang us back on the average positions. I want a right winger to be all the way over here.
Look where Valencia is. Like,
yeah, someone
I was just
ahead of
thinking
Valencia.
every time Pogba got the ball, he'd have to wait for Valencia. And what I noticed, he kept turning back in because Valencia's run would come too late. And I don't blame Valencia because you got to keep your line. And that's sometimes something we blame fullbacks about. And I think Valencia kept his line really well. You know, defensively, he looked mature. He looked like you could see the experience in him today.
You've also got to remember, this is Burnley. No one's getting too carried away here. This was Burnley.
Yeah.
And defensively, we weren't suspect. There was times we were beaten in the air, but I don't think there was.
I think that's
overly...
their game, really. So I think we actually dealt with them pretty well. And Fellaini, like I said, he came into his own. Let's
have a look at Fellaini's average touches and actions. So the problem with Fellaini is how often he loses possession or he creates something bad. But if you look at that there, he's not ventured into the opposition third. That's clearly orders. But he's very central and he's very protective of the back two, essentially, there. And I think this was an excellent sweeping performance, a real proper sweeper number 6 style performance from Marouane Fellaini. And if you then pull up Paul Pogba's, you see that it allowed Pogba to venture into the final third. It allowed Pogba to go left. It allowed Pogba to go right. And even if you have a look at Matic was someone that was getting forward and he was doing it. Marouane Fellaini was an excellent team player. Let's pull his back up.
Well, I know it's why Fellaini was in there.
Excellent team player, doing the hard, simple stuff right. So big props to Marouane Fellaini. I'm seeing a lot of shouts for him to be man of the match.
I think he's definitely up there. It's a fair shout. I think there's loads of people in there like Luke Shaw. Alexis Sanchez already got to play 60 minutes. I thought he might get hooked off, obviously, because of his fitness. But there's one point I wanted to make about Marouane Fellaini there, where I think the reason he played him in that role as well, the extra man in between the defence that wants to...
It's a very big midfield free.
Yeah.
Matic, Pogba, Fellaini. If you want to go toe-to-toe, you're going to lose.
Exactly. So I think when he's in between those centre-backs, I think Mourinho told him, just keep it simple. There's that extra man in the middle. So if Smalley's not going to reach that pass towards Lindelof, which we've seen ourselves make those mistakes against Brighton, and I think that's why Fellaini might have come in, because he was the extra man in there, just like the passer. Like I said, keeping it simple. And then if we get, obviously, anything coming down the right or left, he's straight in the box. And Matic and Pogba dropped in really well in the middle, just to cover what Fellaini was doing originally, and then Fellaini would be the third man in the box, covering Sam Vokes and whoever else they had. I think what Mourinho did really well, he obviously was watching Burnley against Olympiacos, and if you look at the Fulham game as well last week, they're a threat in the air, and that's all they've really been this season.
Well, they are a threat from set pieces. When we looked at them before the game, we was like, this is the only way they're going to hurt you. There's a reason Tarkowski's their leading goal scorer. He's scoring from set pieces. What was nice to see was that United did create those chances. As we said earlier, Lukaku created 4 chances. He should have had a hat-trick today. I'm not sure what the crack is with him not taking a penalty, but he created 4 chances. Alexis Sanchez, one of the best performances. I know it's only Burnley. No one's getting carried away, but if it's a fact, and we'll say it. Yeah. Alexis Sanchez had a great game today. Is this the sort of turning moment in a season where Jose goes, because Jose's took the praise from the fans today as well as the other night. The players are obviously playing for him because the first half performance against Spurs was definitely the players was on side. You can't say he's lost his dressing room and look at that performance.
I think this game was the most game I had to look out for out of all the games we played this season, because I wanted to see the reaction from those players today. Were they just going to form it in and go, whatever? We've got 2 weeks, they'll probably get him replaced or stick Carrick McKenna in there. Some of those players were really putting themselves out there today, and we can see it from some of the press. Matic isn't someone that usually gets about, like, he does press at the right times, but for someone who's, in his 30s now, clearly trusted by Mourinho, he really put himself about, and that's props to Matic as well, coming back from an injury. It shows those players are really in there for Mourinho, to be honest.
Can we get 500 likes? There's over 1,000 watching. The reason we always ask for likes is because if you guys like the video, then it gets seen more in the search. Obviously, there's a ton of content comes out after matches. It's really difficult to get that stuff seen. and that's the reason that we ask for all of the likes and stuff like that all the time in a video. If it gets 1,000 likes, obviously it helps it get seen. So we do appreciate everyone hitting that like button and those that are subscribing if they're new and they're enjoying this content. So we're going to come to you guys in a second for the questions. We're going to hit the Patreon group up as well for the questions and see what everybody's saying in there. But there was some other stuff that I wanted to talk about. Marcus Rashford's red card, Ben Mee's handball, Lukaku going through one-on-one or near enough one-on-one and then getting dropped. And no penalty. There was an argument to be made that even the one with Rashford could have been given as a foul. Rashford and Bardsley get into it on a touchline. Bardsley kicks his legs out from underneath him. Rashford stands up, and now here's the thing: you can't walk towards someone with your head. We all knew as we was watching it, he's in trouble here.
Seen Mbappe do it last night, and it's just one of those. You're a young player, you've got to have some of those moments, but he's barely touched him, and Bardsley's almost, because Bardsley's experienced.
Bardsley's launched him when he was on the floor.
He's experienced in shithouseing, because I remember him coming with Sunderland and absolutely like taking the piss out of Trafford, and I said before the game as well about Bardsley, I don't like coming up against him. He always has these moments in him, and unfortunately he's clearly swiped like Rashford off his feet.
He's just launched him, man, yeah.
And I don't understand how the ref doesn't see that. Like, it confuses me. And then,
well, Marcus looks, doesn't it? As he's on the floor, he looks over as if to be like,
where's the reaction from the ref? And then Bardsley's mouthing off, and obviously then Marcus, like we said, we talk about the experience, is going to get up, but you got to get up because that's frustrating. He's just swiping you off your feet there. The ball's out. It's right in front of the ref.
That's a red card.
The linesman's there.
What he did was more of a red card offence than what Marcus did. Unfortunately, as the ref's coming over to the incident, he's looking at Marcus Rashford doing that. Rashford's been silly, and he's going to pay for it with a ban.
It's really unfortunate. I mean, Bardsley's, that was just horrendous, man. And the thing is, when we talk about how the ref looks at things, Ben Mee puts his hands on the ball as Lukaku's going through a goal. That was the last one. He literally catches it, throws it back in.
Do you know what?
It goes
I
out
wish I'd got a screenshot of that.
It's funny. It's like it goes out to a throw-in and the ref's giving a throw-in. So it's gone from, I don't know, we're watching football or watching something else, because he's picked the ball up and literally put it back into his player and he's kicked out, and Lukaku's gone, free kick then, where's the red card, yellow, no, throw-in. I mean,
do you know what? Does anyone know what minute?
Disgusting levels of refing.
Does anyone know what minute that was? And I will try and find it, and I will get the screenshot of it, because it was absolutely bananas, wasn't it? If someone finds me in a minute, I'll pull the screenshot up and I'll was it over to Will so he can put it on screen for us. So that Rashford, it wasn't a red, but in modern day football, you walk towards someone like that and they pull away like this, it is a red. Yeah. Unfortunate for Marcus, and he is going to be out of the team now. A lot of people suggesting that's the door that gets open then for Tony Marshall to come in and get some game time. Would you reckon that?
Obviously, Martial's going to have his chance now that Rashford's out, but he's got to really take it, because I didn't like watching him at Brighton. I think I spoke about in the Brighton game how he lacked obviously getting at defenders in certain areas, which isn't usually something I complain about with Martial. When he got the ball and he was hungry for the ball, because of the way we played, he didn't receive it like Brighton. He didn't really make anything out of it. And if you're a special player, if you want to hit those elite levels, you've got to be making use of the ball there. So when Martial does come into the side next time, he's really got to prove himself. I like the rotation between Sanchez and Marcus Rashford today. Marcus Rashford brings a different type of energy, brings a bit of width about him. I think when you play that style, and I keep looking back at that interside, you know, sort of Motta and that Matic role, and then you look at Zanetti when he's pushed into midfield, or Maicon when they're pushed into that midfield, sort of what to create and bring the ball forward, sort of what Pogba's doing for us now. And it's very like sort of press with those two players that are playing off the striker, cause problems. And I think if he can make something out of that, then that would be good. But then getting someone like Rashford in there is going to completely change the style. If you go wide when you've been playing narrow all game, the defenders aren't ready for it, and especially with the pace and the talent that Marcus Rashford has, he can go inside and look for the shot.
This is the thing that I think United got to have more variety to our attacks.
100%.
And I think against a better side, you maybe have struggled a little bit. Now, we didn't create as many chances today as we did against Spurs, but we went in at half-time 2-0, and I think that's the difference between today and Monday night against Tottenham, because you go in at half-time 2-0 against Spurs, you ain't losing that game. United aren't losing from 2-0 up at home at half-time. It's not happening. Yeah. So I think it's just a case of taking the chances when they come, and they did come in the first half against Tottenham. We had 10 opportunities. We had the open net that Lukaku spooned.
You never know what happens in the second half, though. Like, for example, what happened today, you would have been very unlucky if we'd gone in 0-0 and that happens. And
people in the comments calling it a 6-pointer. steady on now. I mean, you might be right, but steady on.
In the situation, yeah.
Right, I'm going to head over to the Patreon group and see what the comments are in there. Some of you guys have got some questions. Mike is saying, do I have any input on whether Pereira is in the doghouse? I have no idea still what is going on with Andreas
I didn't
Pereira.
expect him to come into the side. I think after being completely dropped unfairly, I'd say. It's unfortunate.
How long do I think before Dalot takes Valencia's position? So I was there Friday against at the under-23 games against Stoke. Dalot did make his debut now. He looked great with the ball at his feet. He looked confident. He looked a level above. He looked like a player that was a £20 million signing playing with an age group. He is of this age, though. He's playing against his peers, and he looked a level above them, as did Angel Gomez. Very confident on the ball, not bothered to go left or right. He loves a step over. The only thing that I would say is Stoke didn't offer anything going forward where you could judge him on defensively. So going forward, decent performance, especially when it's his first one back from an operation. So all I'll say is,
I say get him in the 23s again for another game. I don't know if they play over
Derby coming up in a couple of weeks,
and then
EFL
I'd say get him in for Derby. So I'd get him into the 23s before Derby. Then Derby's a perfect time, and slowly throughout the season, maybe he offers an option on the left and right.
Connor says, what do you make of the decision to play Fellaini as a 6 and Matic more advanced? Thought Fellaini was good, but Matic didn't offer much. Should we pull up Matic's again? I thought he was going forward with the ball. Let's pull up. You haven't got it on there. I'll have to get it on here.
I think.
But if you have a look at what Matic did in terms of stats, I thought he was good. I thought he was unspectacular, but I thought he was good. So he had one attempt on goal, from outside the box. 87% pass completion.
I think he completed the most passes on the pitch.
So. It was quite sideways, to be honest. He was spreading it out mostly to Luke Shaw. I think, do we have the pass combinations on there? I think that'll tell us a little bit more of where those balls was going from him. So, he was banging it out to Luke Shaw on the left, and that was going forward then into Alexis Sanchez. On the right-hand side, Pogba was banging it out to Valencia and to Lingard. Now, what's good about this is the last couple of weeks, the most frequent passes have been sort of midfield to midfield, midfield to defence. There's been nothing going forward. Here you can instantly see there's two lines going forward there to Lingard and to Sanchez, which means that we're getting the ball into the final third. And I think there's no coincidence that we make chances and we've scored goals.
I just wanted to have a look at Luke Shaw as well and why Matic keeps looking at him. I spoke last week about how how he kept coming into the middle. And I'm just looking here as well. I think in the first half he had 12 attacking third passes and a lot of them were coming inside and out on the left.
As you can see that, I mean, the only mistakes he's made, there's a couple near us, lost possession, that'll be challenges that he's not won. Going forward, lots of involvement in the game. What I like about Shaw is he comes narrow in here, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Quite often coming into the box.
He's confident. If you look at the goal that we scored where Jesse Lingard has that nice touch inside and then comes back out to Lukaku, just before that, the build-up between him and Sanchez, and we've seen it, I think, if you can get them to build an understanding, maybe Luke Shaw's the one that provides the width and provides that extra bit of creativity and the first time cross on his left foot. If him and Sanchez can create that. Keep liking the video. We are going for 500. We're on 350. There's nearly 1,500 watching. You guys can get it. Is anything you guys specifically want to see? We'll pull that up and then we can have a look at it. But in terms of like everything today, in terms of chance creation, what we limited Burnley to, I think a lot of that is down to like you know your opposition. Burnley were not great. I was very happy with the contribution from everyone. Let's have a look at what Jesse Lingard did, because I think Lingard was deeper than I expected, if you have a look there. Obviously involved around the box. The X's where he just missed out on it. There was a couple of opportunities that he had that he could have Lukaku could have slipped him through there in the first half.
It was a good one to see.
It's nice to see someone who's getting about there in midfield where I think that's where Mourinho can risk dropping someone like Fellaini deeper and helping out the centre-backs and having that role, because then Jesse Lingard can get about. And like I said, going back to that inside, always had Mata who can play both of those roles, whether further up the pitch to score those goals or whether he just literally sit in between the centre-backs. At the time it was Samuel.
Somebody's asked for Big Dave's distribution. We don't have that on the computer over there at the moment, but I do have this on my computer, so let me just grab it and I will send it over to Will so he can get it in there, and let's have a look. So
it was definitely better than what we've seen against Spurs, let's be honest. I mean, I think he took on the mistakes that I did against Spurs and he was a bit more useful with his passes this time, you could say.
So it was longer.
Yeah.
It looks like he's long from set pieces, so goal kicks essentially. So there's a few coming over to you here now, Will. You should be able to see which one's in there. He did go straight to Lukaku, but he also went to Smalling and Lindelof a few times as well. So these are heading over to.
I think the reason he goes for Smalling and Lindelof in this game a bit more is, like I said, having that extra man between them, like Fellaini. It's worth the risk of doing that.
All right, Will should be able to start pulling these up for us in a second. We can see foot passes from open play. He was more inclined to knock those over to the defence, and we'll get them as we're ready to pull them up.
I just wanted to mention something about game plans. In the first half, the second most attacking third passes was from Luke Shaw. First one was 13 from Alexis Sanchez, as expected. But in the second half, the second half, this is all over the pitch. Second half, Luke Shaw actually falls down the pile, and I think this is a difference of game plan. And I think I like that from Luke Shaw.
It also could have been
you want to secure it again once the red cards.
Yeah, once the red card happens, he doesn't cross the halfway line then, and he secures
and
it.
that's I like that from Luke Shaw, because that's the experience coming in, and hopefully that's more proof for Mourinho to know that he's made the right decision to have Luke Shaw on the side.
Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the comments. Spurs beaten today. We said that it's the most Spurs thing in the world. Yeah. Are we ready to roll on those? Will? All right, let's give us the first one that you've got. So this is foot passes from open play there from Big Dave. As you can see, the ones that are coming down this kind of level, that's where he's knocking it out. Valencia looks like a recipient of a couple. Smalling, Lindelof to a few of those there. A couple into midfield, but mainly kind of looking towards Sanchez and Lukaku. Lukaku was a frequent pass of his. Let's have a look at the next one. This one, I think, is the one.
That's where the creativity is at. Obviously, that he's going to know to look on that side.
Not got those in yet? No. All right, okay, cool. Just let us know when you've got those in. And then we'll see where those have gone, because I think it is one to look at. What's the points that we've got in here? Spurs beaten today, says Alex in the comments. How you doing, brother? Hanging out with Mourinho the other day. It's all right. I didn't want to hang out with him. How many teams beat us and then can't follow it up? It's a great question. We said, didn't we, jokingly today when they equalised, is it the most Spurs thing ever to beat us and then go and lose to Watford?
And I said that's why they don't have that cutting edge to win the league. Yeah. You know, to go on after you beat a big
All right, here we go. We've got another one here for you, and this is the most frequent pass combinations from Big Dave. As you can see there, Lindelof and Smalling, Smalling being the main one, and then also Romelu Lukaku is the main recipient of them. Now, a lot of people before the game was calling for Lukaku to be dropped, and I said there's no way United are going to drop him, because we love going straight to Lukaku. That was one thing that I noticed against Leicester that we struggled with, and perhaps why Leicester ended up with more possession than us, because you can't go long to Marcus Rashford and expect him to play like Romelu Lukaku. It's not the same guy.
I said last week we need to keep Lukaku busy, and we did that today. And I said Lukaku's got that thing about him where if nothing's coming towards him and you've got to play on the counter all game, it can work at times, and we've seen him frustrated at City away, even though we won that game. And it doesn't really help. And I think if you keep him busy, you get him involved in the play, and that's what Jesse Lingard and Alexis Sanchez brought today, which I liked, was straight away looking at where Lukaku's going to get it and running off him. We've seen a lot of the time where he receives it, they know where to move. And it was very similar in terms of those two. Remember the first half that we played against City, and the positioning from Jesse Lingard and Sanchez was a bit frustrating in terms of where they were going. And today they sort of were switching that, just like they did in the second half against City. They were switching the positions they were in and mixing it up a bit, and there was no sort of
that was a good
one
point,
role for one person.
Pogba was positioning, if we go back to the average positions, Pogba's positioning here is on the right. Now, so many times the problem with Pogba and Sanchez is they're very similar footballers in terms of how they create chances. Now, if you look at them here, they're not in each other's pocket, and that might be what we have to do, is maybe if we're going to get the best out of Sanchez, stop playing him with Pogba right behind him, because I think they tend to drift into the same. I think they see the same thing and both end up in the same kind of spaces. We're this close to 500 likes. Please keep hitting that like button. We've got loads of questions as well. I'm going to come back to the Patreon group. Them guys are getting another podcast as well as all the extra content, and the full footage analysis as well can go out on Patreon, because YouTube copyright strikes that stuff. So let's have a look at the rest of them. Cy Whitworth, was this Sanchez's best performance? We did mention that earlier, and I would say I think it was. Miles says, what effect will Rashford missing 3 in a row have on Martial's involvement? I think he's probably going to be the preferred substitute. I don't think he comes in as first choice. I think Sanchez is probably going to be the guy that's got that. But I think he's the...
And I think this time it will actually be because of what Mourinho thinks is the game plan. It's not really on a personal thing. Obviously, a lot of reporters and a lot of people on Twitter will always take it to that level where they think it's going to be a personal thing with Mourinho and Martial. It is a lot of the time, but
this is a good question.
Game plan thing.
Alex A in the comments, seriously guys, can someone tell me what the option be when Lukaku isn't playing, can't play like that with Martial or Rashford? Well, plan B is the go to Fellaini. So when Fellaini starts, what's plan B or C? I don't know, mate. And that's something that I worry, because I don't, again, going back to that variety of attack, I don't think United have got variety of attack.
Yeah.
We don't really have an identified style of play as it is. We definitely flavour ourselves to what the opposition are going to do and then figure it out from there. I would prefer that we went out on the front foot a little bit more.
That's what you see with City. I think Liverpool don't have it as much, but with Man City, they're the one team that I look at them every week and say, I know the way they're going to play. And they still do it and they still get the win. And it's the same exact thing like we've seen going through Mendy. Although they've not been the best at times, they have a certain style and they can mix it up a bit when they take off Jesus and one of Jesus or Aguero and put in the extra midfielder to add that creativity and the pace that they lacked in midfield. And it worked for them yesterday in Newcastle to grind out that win.
Matthew Jarvis in the comments on Patreon there saying Jose seemingly wanted Alexandro, but now look at Shaw's performances. Could that be why the board aren't backing him? I think that's a really good question, mate, and it might be the case that that's the reason why they're not backing him. I don't think it's the case with Luke Shaw's a special case because he's obviously been out injured.
He's already proved
when he's come
before.
back, yeah, but when he's come back, he hasn't really regained it, and he's been in and he's been out, and he's struggled with injuries and he's struggled with his weight a little bit as well by the looks of things. Now, that's not what's going on with maybe Jones or Lindelof, perhaps.
You can't say to Mourinho, Jones is good enough. You got to stick to him. Like you said this on your fan cam last week. How imagine Zidane comes in. And then you're telling him to keep Smalling Jones and we can't sell him because you think they're good enough. Ed Woodward doesn't know anything about football. For him to have the right to say to a manager, a football manager of the club, to say, no, Jones is good enough.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
You're the guy.
That's why you bring a football manager in. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. So we can decide who to play.
I think that was it for the questions on Patreon. If you guys have got some questions in the chat as well, please give them us. Please get liking the video and please share the video as well. We're getting a lot of good comments about this this style of video. It seems like it's been something that people have wanted, so please share it with as many reds as possible. Excellent content, says SpongeBob. Amazing, says AK, and obviously I'm just reading the ones that are dead positive, so there you go. Governor Bandicoot says, mate, I'm loving your post-match videos this season. This is the kind of quality content that was missing. Do you know what? We spoke about this last week in here. I know it's not exactly relevant to the game, but this is a video that I've wanted to do for a long time. Couldn't do it until we got the studio, and obviously all the studio and everything else that's come along with it is a massive part to play to everybody that's joined the Patreon group. So if you've not joined Patreon, hit the link in the description, have a read about what it's about and what you get for it, and then make your own mind up if you want to be someone that helps support this channel. But there you go. Great analysis by Abdul, obviously, says MUFC OK. Zidane not coming in, it's a fantasy. I don't think it is a fantasy. I think it's very real. I think the board would take him. But I think it's unfair on Jose to be talking about it right now. Bad Brad says, what's my thoughts on the banner? I've said mine already a little bit, so what do you think?
I'm not... You know what, you made a really good point and it sort of changed my view on it. You can remove Jose Mourinho. Ed Woodward's almost the top of all of this. That's how I see it, because the Glazers, there's money in front of them. They're just, all they think about is money. They're not looking about what's going around in terms of football and how we play. We go to the games, people watching the games on TV every week, they're the ones that see what's going on. The Glazers aren't watching it like us, and people need to understand that that's not going to affect anything. I think the only thing that it does, and I can't really, maybe if it is, there's a bit of speculation who's putting the banner out and stuff, and if it is proper fans that are putting it out, and maybe it is applying a bit of pressure, maybe because the Glazers are going to see this somehow and say, we haven't been doing good in the market, we've got a big club. Maybe it adds a bit of pressure, but you spoke about the Milan, and I spoke about it last week, and Milan 2010, everyone turns up with the scarves and, you know, David Beckham's on the pitch, they chuck it at him, he puts it around
banners.
The banners are everywhere. Around Manchester, you go, the stickers are on every pole in Manchester.
Nothing changed.
That's the pressure. Nothing changed in terms of what's going on the top.
Nothing changed. So, as much as I agree with the sentiment, I don't agree with the method of delivery of using the plain banner. Because if I have a point, if I have an opinion, and Abdul's is different, the newspapers are going to report whatever was on the plain banner, whether it was Abdul's opinion or my opinion. It doesn't take into account that there's people in the ground or watching on TV at home that disagree with whatever went on that banner.
Exactly.
The problem is it presumes authority Nobody speaks for United fans. Yeah. Nobody. Not anyone who's on a fan cam. Not anyone who used to play for the club. Not anybody who's written for a fanzine. Nobody speaks on behalf of all fans. Not even Must. They're a supporters trust. They do not speak on behalf of United fans. No one could ever claim to know the opinion of United fans on anything. Can you imagine trying to poll 100 million people? It's not 600 million. I'll get into that another day why we haven't got 600 million fans, but you know what I mean? But nobody speaks on behalf of all fans.
Yeah.
And I hate the presumption that someone goes, here's my opinion, check it out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is my fan channel. This is my YouTube channel.
This is your view?
Yeah, this is my view.
Just like anyone
I don't say, this is the view of all United fans.
Just like anyone tweets or anyone puts anything on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, that's your view.
But when you fly a plain banner over a football ground, it gets reported as Manchester United fans did this.
And that's a problem.
Now, like when United Real did that, I mentioned this on the Full-Time Devils video before, when United Real did the Come Home Ronaldo one, and they was raising money, which was well on top, for buying Ronaldo back. For starters, you don't know how much Real Madrid want for him, or wanted for him. You don't even know if United want him. You presume him.
How are you going to go around?
You could think United probably want Ronaldo, but you can't just presume to bring someone in. You don't know if there was personal reasons aside from anything else why he left Manchester. You have no idea. The presumptions that people go to when they fly these plain banners are just madness. So yeah, that's that. I wonder how much it would take each fan to donate to collectively buy back the club. Someone do the maths. 4 billion. Let's call it 5 billion to entice them. So 5 billion divided by 100 million fans. 50 quid each. It's a lot of people to throw in 50 quid though.
50 quid will set some people back a whole year, mate.
Why can't we have Jose here for the long term? I can see him. I think he would have already gone if it wasn't United, to be honest.
Yeah. I said this, and there was a report about a couple of weeks ago about people being close to him saying that. And I think I've always seen it as his dream job. I've always seen when he comes to Old Trafford with Madrid and respects us the way he does, and he isn't shit talking after the game and saying we deserve to win because we did. In
that Madrid game when Nani got sent off, when Fergie got knocked out of the Champions League for the last time, that was Jose Mourinho. He might as well have put an advert outside, like the guy that used to walk with his little sandwich board, like the end is near. That dude, he might as well have walked around saying, "Give us a job."
There was a thing about how he spoke to someone about 2013, just before we got Moyes in, and how you speak trying to get to people at the club to try and get in. And if someone's had that level of commitment to try and get to United, then you've got to respect it, obviously, and he's shown that today. He's jumping over barriers to get into the fans and giving training jackets to the fans and having that connection. When did we see Van Gaal do that?
When did we see Mourinho do this, to be honest, though? Because if it's taken this pressure on, that's undoubtedly on him, let's be honest, there is pressure on him. If it's taken this pressure on him to stop him being a miserable bastard, then I'm happy. Because I saw it like, chuck us a pen, Will. There's one in that drawer, isn't there? There's times when, like, Jose's come out and they've gone, a fan's gone, sign us that programme there. And he's gone like that. He's held the pen like that and he's gone. And you go, come on, man. There's like 6, 7-year-old kids and you've just gone. And he's just like drawn a circle on it and then jumped in a car. And I've seen him say no to autographs of people and stuff like that. And you just go, no, mate. No, absolutely not. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And now, this week, we've seen a change. We've seen him stop for a photo with our mate Alex, who's in the comments.
He's gone over to chat with the fans as well.
He's gone over to have a little chat with them.
I think that's what people need to understand. And the connection with the fans isn't just taking it's not just doing an autograph or taking a picture and all that stuff. I think it's more being close to the fans, and you don't even have to show off about it. We've had personal experience with the likes of Jesse Lingard and Marcus Rashford and what they do. Obviously, they're lads from Manchester. They've grown up in the academy, but that shouldn't make it any difference for a manager that's wanted this job. That's how I make it clear. Speaking
of Marcus has just been on Instagram and he's posted, emotions got the better of me. I shouldn't have reacted like that. Sorry to everyone at the club and the fans. I would say no need to apologise, Marcus. Absolutely not. I've got no issue with what he did there at all. He's going to sit out for 3 games. That's it. That's it. Simple as that.
One of them, to be fair, at least one of them's coming to the Derby game. because it's not taking up a league game, is it there? So that we've had a bit of luck with that one there.
AK says, I think as fans, if we get behind Mourinho as a single supporting unit, no media can write crap about United. Nobody would read it. Opposition fans read it. That's the problem. Opposition fans do read it.
It's going to get the clicks regardless.
Talk about Shaw, says Cavill CT. Shaw was class. I do think Shaw was class.
I'm enjoying watching him, honestly.
Yeah.
He's special to watch.
This is a run of form now. How long does he keep this going? I hope he doesn't pick up an injury on international duty. I will break into Gareth Southgate's house and bitch slap him while he's in his bed, if allegedly, if Luke Shaw gets injured on this, because the form he's in at the moment, this is what kills us, isn't it? So
let's hope they take it slow a bit on this international break.
Just chill, champ, chill. If Rashford was going to get sent off, he should have done it proper. Just bang some.
Go hard or go home.
That's the one, man. I mean, it's unfortunate. He shouldn't have been sent off, but you know that modern day football, that is the kind of thing that's going to get you sent off. But I mean, at times I'd just love to have seen it. I know that the likes of Marcus and Jesse, I know they're proper United fans that see their arse with the Scousers and the City fans. Look at what Jesse said to City after the derby last year. Can we have your tables in town? I love that, and I would love one of them to go over the top like that, but you can't do it in a modern game. You get banned for it a long old time. if you just lay the old nut on somebody, it's not going to go down like that.
Likes of Jesse and Marcus have that influence on Mourinho as well? They're gone.
There's talk of him finishing the game with a shoulder injury today. Is that Luke Shaw?
Oh, hopefully not.
I hope it's a injury rather than an injury. If you
an injury for the international break, allegedly.
What about the fact that we was attacking with 10 men? When do we say that about a Mourinho team? Well, you should say it about a Mourinho team fairly often, because we do.
I think these are just I keep saying this, but these are the standard games you have against teams like Burnley, and it's just how you transfer it into how you play the big sides. And Mourinho did really well last season with it.
Just not drop games, not drop points at home for starters.
Make sure you keep that level and that flow and the way of attacking.
I heard a stat today that Spurs goal, or them Spurs goals, were 13% of Spurs Premier League goals at Old Trafford in 2 minutes. 13%.
Just those 2 goals.
Dean says, thoughts on the under-18s so far? They're a very exciting side.
I'm enjoying watching them. I've watched a lot more of them this year, and I'm enjoying a lot of what they do, the likes of Greenwood. It's just absolutely unbelievable. We see that touch that he done against after Garner's beautiful long pass against Liverpool. There's definitely a couple of potential players in there to come through.
There's a couple of potential players in there. Now, yesterday they lost to Middlesbrough 3-1, but they weren't value for a defeat. They played well. They could have and should have won the game. They've got a couple of players missing at the moment, but they still could have won the game. Now, what annoys me with them is they try and play out the back, and I'm conflicted on it, because I go, yes, development, yes, still 18s, but at some point you got to remember these are professional footballers. Some of these have been on the pre-season, so they have to start getting in the winning mentality. So I'm not keen on some of the things that they do when they play out the back, but
they kept putting the keeper under pressure in that Stoke game in the first half, and once I felt like they simplified the game. They done a lot well in the second half against Stoke and got 3 or 4 goals on the bounce after that.
And next question that we've got there, Colin McMahon says, could you do a tactical analysis video on Luke Shaw's role? Do you know what? I might do that over the international break and see what the crack is. Right, I think we're going to wrap it up there, but thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to go and check out Abdul's channel. The link is in the description. If you're interested in getting involved in Patreon, there probably will be a Patreon podcast. It's either tomorrow or Tuesday. There's quite a lot to do tomorrow, so we'll see if I manage to get it done in time. But that's just for you guys. So if you've got any questions that you want me to specifically answer, I'll bang a message on the group in there in a second. Get your subscriptions in, get your likes in. Thank you guys for watching, and now head over to Full Time Devils, because the fan cams will be coming out on Full Time Devils probably in the next couple of minutes. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Laters. Welcome to the Stephen Howson Football Channel. This is where I will take you through everything that I do revolving around football, be it that at Old Trafford or elsewhere. This is where you will get your match previews, your reviews, your football vlogs, your scout reports, your transfer talk, your youth reviews, your documentaries, and anything and everything revolving around football. I absolutely love this game. Do me a favour and subscribe. Thank you for watching.